Hello, everyone. It is time for the Arnold Classic review. I have been getting a lot of requests for the Arnold Classic review. People are like, where's the review? Where's the review? So I wasn't going to do the review because I wasn't getting any pictures. Looks like there wasn't the best coverage this year at the Arnold in terms of pictures. Amazing coverage at the Arnold this year in terms of the live stream. That was like the highest quality live stream that I've seen. Great caliber of competitors. So I wanted to go ahead and jump into it and give my thoughts on the Arnold, but also we have the Arnold UK coming up, which was exactly 2 weeks after the Arnold. Gives the girls enough time to do little things like tighten up, change posing, get feedback, all the doable, changeable things that are possible after getting feedback from a good show like the Arnold in front of the top judges. So I wanted to jump into the top 5 at the Arnold. You're going to see a lot of those top 5 at the Arnold UK and give my feedback on who I think and how I think they're going to place at the Arnold UK. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. And let's jump right into Phoebe Hagen, who got 5th place at the Arnold UK. Now, let me know too in the live stream if you guys like this way of doing it. I'm doing it a little bit differently. I can get it out a little bit faster this way. A lot less production time. I can get right to them. If you like it, great. Let me know if you don't like it in the comments, me doing it this way. So looking at Phoebe, this is a great showing of Phoebe. This is the best Phoebe that Phoebe has been in terms of her muscularity. Okay, so she is filled out her frame. If you look at her physique of this Arnold and you look at her physique of the Olympia of 2022, you're gonna notice some things that are come out to you right off the back. And one of them is gonna be her fullness and roundness. Her physique is there now, guys. It is there. She does not need a lot of work to take this physique to a top 5 Olympia level. It is pretty much there. I mean, when you look at her, you don't say, okay, she has balance issues. You don't look at her, you say, okay, she needs a lot more muscle. You don't look at her glutes and say, okay, they need more fullness and more density. Everything's pretty much there. Structurally, she's one of the best structures in bikini right now. It just comes down to, is she going to nail her conditioning? Is she going to have that look that they like on her? So the look that they like on her, if you look at her at the Olympia 2022, which is her best that she's done, is that shrink-wrapped, skin-tight look that she has. So conditioning on Phoebe at this show could be just the tiniest bit better, like literally just a little bit better. And I think considering what she's looking like at this show, and considering the time frame she has from that show, from the Arnold to the Arnold UK, I think you're going to see an improved Phoebe. And I think that's going to be real scary for the other people that are competing that beat her at the Arnold going into the Arnold UK. She could be now with this muscle and this fullness and this balance that she has now, with her tightening up just a little bit going into the Arnold UK, that could be the difference. That could be the game changer for her winning the Arnold UK. Now remember, she won the Arnold UK a couple years back. So it wouldn't be any surprise with her winning it again. Now, what does she need to do? Just the tiniest bit tighter in the tie-ins. If you look back at her Olympia 2022, she was just a tiny bit tighter, but she wasn't as full. Bikini has changed a little bit. They want a rounder, fuller physique. But with Phoebe, they do like her tight. So here's the thing. She had a big weight loss going into the Arnold. You know, she lost about 20 pounds going those last 10 weeks in the Arnold. That's hard on the body. No matter who you are, that's going to be hard on your body. You looking 100% after that fast of a weight loss, that close to a show, is going to be really, really difficult no matter who you are. There's just some things that need to happen when you're doing that, and there's going to be some inflammation built from all that hard work. You're doing a lot of cardio, you're doing a lot of stress on your body. Now that she's in condition at the Arnold, really, she has 2 weeks to let her body relax. She took a week before this show to let her body relax a little bit, let the inflammation die down, but 2 weeks of doing that where you're just maintaining your body fat is a totally bit different scenario than doing it for 1 week. So expect to see Phoebe in similar shape, but better conditioning with that tight skin wrapped, that shrink wrapped look. We call it that shrink wrapped tight skin, where that skin is just hugging on the muscle, where you can see everything. If she has that look with this balance, she is going to be a real threat, and honestly, probably likely to win. I don't see structurally, I do think structurally, when you look at her compared to Vana, I do think structurally she's superior to Vana, who beat her out, who got 3rd, which would obviously be the favorite going into the Arnold UK, but structurally slightly superior when it comes to Phoebe. Just a little bit, but pretty, you know, Vana's got a great physique, great structure too, but just a little bit superiority in that overall structure. Now, she brings that same conditioning with this fullness. I think it's lights out, guys. I really do. So I'm hoping that she does. I'll be rooting for her always, now and forever, rooting for her. Now, going into 4th place, Angelica. All right, so this is going to be a little controversial. Sorry, I'm always going to call it how it is, no matter who it is, whether it's my competitor, someone else's competitor, whatever. I do think the placing of 4th and 5th could have been swapped between Angelica and Phoebe there. only because of the conditioning on Angelica when you see her in the walk. When she was walking, when she was moving, you were still seeing a lot of shake in the glutes, okay? A lot of shake in the glutes and in the legs. There was still some conditioning that needed to happen with her from the backside. Now, this was kind of strange because from the front, she didn't need any conditioning. You look at her legs, you look at her conditioning on her legs, it was actually a little bit too conditioned from the front at times. I was like, man, she's looking really dense. She's looking really lean. Is she too lean? And then she turned around and was like, okay, she's definitely not too lean. She needs to tighten up from the back. So there's some balance issues that she needs to figure out in terms of her body fat distribution. And I don't think it's really a body fat distribution thing. I think it's just she needs time and reps to really get the density of her glutes and legs to really be that harder look like that. It's strange because she's been doing it for so long, but it looks like she just needs to be doing some heavy lifting on the glutes and on the hamstrings for just a little while longer to get that matching from the front to the back density and fullness, roundness and hardness, because it was obvious in the walk. And that's the only time I saw her. And I was like, you know what? I think she needs just to be a little bit denser. And I think she should have taken that 5th place spot. I would have swapped Phoebe and her for that 4th and 5th place spot. That's my only critique on the judging. But honestly, I could see the argument because from the front, it's still Angelica Teixeira. She's still amazing. Now, a couple things that I was seeing in her overall posing on her front pose. Now she's giving that posing with that hourglass shape that they want. They want to see that hourglass shape in the posing. But when I'm looking at her, I can't see any of her shoulder on that back pose. So she's, with her having such big glutes and such detailed legs, my eye is going to go right here because there's just nothing to see up here. The shoulders being hidden by the hair, the shoulders tucked back. I'm seeing hardly any of the arm. So I do think with her posing, if she just turned it over a little bit, it would help her with the balance, and showing that shoulder width and give her a better X frame from that front, better balance from upper to lower body, because she does have really big glutes and that glute profile in that front. So if she opens up that shoulder just a little bit and gives a little bit more width up top, it's going to help her balance from upper to lower. And it won't draw my eye so much to the striations and details, because look at the striations of those quads, even in that back leg. That is a lot of detail in that back leg, and you're usually not seeing that much detail on the back leg of a bikini competitor. And with this detail and that much striation, she looks really, really tight in the legs. Again, when I was watching it, I was saying, man, she looks a little over conditioned from the front, but then from the back, she needs more conditioning. So I think it's just getting her posing right, getting her balance of her density right on her backside, making a little bit of development to the glutes, and I think that'll be a different Angelica. But I don't know if 2 weeks is enough time for her. With Phoebe, looking at what Phoebe had to improve on, I think 2 weeks is enough time for her to get just a little bit tighter, make those small adjustments. With Angelica, I don't know if it's going to be enough time on getting the density to be matching, but the posing, I think definitely she can make an improvement. Now, the surprise, which I guess shouldn't have been a surprise for everyone, was Vana. Vana looked awesome. And again, Vana's structure is awesome as well. Really happy to see Vana. I've been watching Vana for a couple years now. When I first saw her, and I was like, we're at a show in Vegas. Might have been 3 years ago at this point. And I said, man, that girl could be really good. And I was talking to her. I said, you just need to downsize your quads a little bit and you're going to be awesome. A year later, downsize the quads. A year later, downsize the quads. And now she's in pretty much perfect balance. I mean, her balance is really, really good, but she's a very muscular competitor. You look at her, and when you look at her, you say, man, is she too muscular? I hate when I'm looking at a competitor and it's like right on the edge. And I'm like, because some judges, when you're right on the edge, some judges are going to say you're too much. You want to be right there, but you don't always want to be the most muscular competitor in the lineup. And I think she's going to be the most muscular competitor in the lineup, like 9 out of 10 times. Going into the UK, she's going to be one of the most muscular girls. And the judges are going to look at her and some of them are going to say she's a little bit too muscular. And I think that's going to be the only problem. So, but it's right there. A trained eye, a really good trained eye is going to be like, ugh, it's right there muscularity wise. It does push it a little bit. Now, what can she do to make her physique not look so muscular? And that's going to be the thing to help her in 2 weeks. She's not going to lose a lot of muscle in 2 weeks. If she tried to lose a lot of muscle in 2 weeks, it's going to hurt her physique. She's not going to look right. She's not going to pop the way she needs to. So it has to come down to the posing. Now, just as we talked about with Angelica, showing that front arm, showing a little bit more width to help with her balance, what Vana can do is actually tuck this elbow back a little bit. So it's coming over like this. It's showing a lot of shoulder, a lot of arm. If she just tucks her elbow back a little bit and gives a little bit of a slimmer arm, it's going to help her not look so powerful in those arms, not look so dominant in that upper body, because that's where my eye goes when I'm looking at her on this side. It goes right there, but everything else looks really, really good, really balanced. But again, the detail in the quad, look at that separation. Now, we want a kiss of detail in that quad, but we don't want all this crazy striation. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 striations in there, right? So you're seeing all the muscles in there. Just relax a little bit on that back quad. Don't give it so much of a squeeze. Pull that elbow back a little bit and show that pretty posing that bikini is all about. Remember, this is a fitness model competition, not a bodybuilding competition. We want to show detail, but not overly strided, too much detail. Those little changes make all the difference in the world on competitors. Looking at her from the back, she's doing a good job. Now, a lot of times this is where the mistake is on the back on competitors. They'll open up those elbows too much and they'll show too much tricep. Now, look at her arms from the back versus from the front. From the front, they look like really powerful, almost dominant arms to her body. From the back, they look very balanced. And again, that all comes down to posing. If she opened up her elbows more, you'd see more of that tricep and it would look like it was dominating her just a little bit. You would obviously see it because it's there. You can see that it's there, but here it looks more balanced. Everything looks a lot more in line. From the glutes down, she really doesn't need to make any changes from here to the to the Arnold UK. She looks great. Now, big mistake here is her hair being on her shoulders. Okay, she's got beautiful shape, beautiful shoulders, doing a perfect back pose. I wouldn't change anything in her back pose, but you gotta stop making those little mistakes at a big show like this. Take your time, ladies. Put your hair down the middle of your back. Don't let it get caught on your shoulder and hide your shape from the back. You can't make those mistakes at these high level shows. You know, when you get to the Arnold UK, you know, these are shows that are just too big to make those mistakes. Take your time, practice it, get your reps in, practice with your hair down. Make sure that hair is off your shoulders. Make sure it's cut the right way where you could see a tiny bit of your lower back. You know, other than that, really, really good. I would love to see her make those small changes, but honestly, physique-wise, I don't think she should make any changes going to the Arnold UK. It worked for her. The top 2 people she's going to be going against at the Arnold UK is most likely going to be Angelica and Phoebe again. Can she hold them off? If she makes those changes, she should be able to. It's going to be tough if Phoebe can bring just the tiniest bit tighter of a package. So it's going to be a real throwdown. It's on that show. It's going to be a real fun one to watch. I'll do another analysis after that, and we'll see how that one goes. Now, going into number 2, this is the controversial one. A lot of people had Laura Lee winning. A lot of people had Amy winning. It was like Team Amy, Team Laura Lee. It came down to 1 point. What team was I on? Well, on this one, now I wanted my Vegas girl to win. I got to admit, I love when Vegas girls bring home trophies to Vegas. I want Vegas to sink into the ground, into the earth, because of the weight of Vegas trophies that come here. I don't care if it's my athlete. I don't care who it is. I want Vegas to be the spot. So I had to be going for Amy. I love Amy, her husband. They're super nice. So I'm always rooting for them to come up. But she got off by 1 point. Was it the right decision? I do think it was the right decision, guys. I know it was a shocker for a lot of you. A lot of you wanted Amy. I think they nailed that one. It's a tough one, but if you really look at it and you look at everything, it was kind of an obvious one. So going into the front pose with Amy, honestly, it was pretty much perfect. I've seen her kind of vary on her front pose with her shoulder back, her shoulder forward, trying to maximize that hourglass shape. You know, she does have, if you look at her closely, she does have a little bit of an X frame. She has a high lat, wide clavicle base. Her shoulders are just a little bit pushing the limits of the size. The density of her legs are a little bit big, but honestly, she's really brought a good package. This is a good hourglass shape for someone of her stature. She's a little shorter, with someone of her X frame that she naturally has. So she's done a very good job with her posing. She's sitting really well into her hip and her glute. Everything's looking a lot better balanced than it used to look. I used to really beat her up on her quads being too full, too round, and too dense. They're actually looking a lot better now. She's done a good job with bringing everything into balance. I would say just work on the posing, making it more hourglass shape. Don't let the shoulders be so dominant, and she's good to go. That might have been enough to beat Laura Lee if she had those little things. I don't know. Laura Lee brought a really good package. I don't know if it was beatable that day by Amy. Now, looking at her from the back, when I first saw her come out, I thought, they filled her out really good. I don't know why they need to fill her out so much. She's so muscular. It's not like you need to fill her out 100% and really, really push those carbs on her, because I thought her glutes looked the tiniest bit soft. I think I've seen her tie-ins look a little bit better, but the exchange of the roundness and the fullness for filling her out, I think is worth it, losing a little bit of the detail. Now, if she can ever match the fullness with a little bit more detail, that would be a really scary Amy. We're talking a top 3 Amy if she can nail that, but that's a really hard thing to do. Is it even possible? I don't know. With the level of muscle she has now, I don't know if she needs more development, more density in the glutes to do that, or if it just comes down to her filling out at the end and her conditioning. I'm not positive, but that is the thing that I think where Laura Lee beats her at. I'll be really curious to see if she had a little bit more detail on her tie-ins at this show, if it would have been the difference. It was so close. But Laura Lee really, really impressed me at this show. Let's go ahead and take a look at Laura Lee. Not even going to go into Laura Lee's posing. Laura Lee is one of the best in the business at posing, if not the best in the business at posing. And honestly, I don't even know with Laura Lee if it is actually posing or if it's just stage presence entirely. Because when she's on stage, all eyes are on her. You know, when she comes out, everyone's watching her posing routine. She is hard not to draw attention in. She's hard not to be looking at when she's on stage. She just commands the stage. So it's just a different thing with Laura Lee. You know, posing wise, we just look at her front, you look at her back pose. It's not going to be much better than anyone else's, but it's just the commanding of the stage. You know, just having that generalship of the stage and how she comes out with that presence. So that's going to be hard for people to get past, guys. That's going to be something that is really a factor that they weigh into it. And when they talked about the Olympia last year, they said, yeah, she probably could have been a 6th to 8th place physique wise, but with her stage presence, it really moved her up. And it was just based on her stage presence. That is a factor in bikini. So who's going to have better stage presence, her versus Amy, when you're looking at those points? Well, first, Laura Lee's going to win that no matter what shape she's in. She's going to win that category, right? Now, looking at her shape, this is the thing I was thinking going into this show. And I was saying it to people, that were competing. I was saying, look, Laura Lee has the hardest thing to do that any competitor can do right now. She has to downsize from the Olympia into the Arnold and still bring a round, full package. Now, we've seen Laura Lee in all sorts of shapes, right? We've seen her really full, but maybe a little bit too soft. We've seen her really hard, but maybe a little bit too hard. We've seen her try to downsize where she didn't look full and she didn't look the way she didn't have that roundness and pop that she needed to have. So we've seen her kind of all over the place, right? She's hard to peak. Now, so I was thinking myself, I was like, okay, she's not going to be able to downsize going into the Arnold and still bring a good package. It's too hard to do in too short of amount of time. We're talking, 4 months time frame, I think a little less than 4 months time frame for her to downsize, bring her body into better balance and still have the roundness and fullness without looking sucked down. Not going to happen. She's vulnerable. This is the time to go after and enter the Arnold and move up a spot. It'd be a perfect situation for someone exactly like Amy, right? I was wrong. Man, was I wrong. I saw her pictures a couple weeks going into the Arnold and I was like, man, I'm wrong. She did it. She doesn't need to change anything. Even at those pictures, which were like 2 or 3 weeks before the Arnold, I was like, she doesn't need to change anything and she'll win. No one's going to beat her at the Arnold. I thought she'd be winning with a perfect score. So hats off to Amy to making it closer than a perfect score because she actually did it. Laura Lee did it. She brought her size down. Now I will say there are some flaws, which is a scary thing going into the Olympia of next year, or of this year, I should say, because there's a couple things I'll go into. So first off, hats off to Laura Lee and her camp. The physique is a lot better balanced. That was the thing I always beat up Laura Lee on. I was always saying, her quads are a little out of balance to her upper body. Her glutes are so dominant that it's all you look at when you're on stage. And I don't know how the judges aren't catching this more regularly because to me, it's obvious and that should hurt you. I don't care about everything else. Balance is a huge component and it needs to be there and her balance is off. Everything else could be there, but if the balance is off, that's one of the main things in bikini. And you can't be winning world championships like that. That's what I used to think. Now, honestly, it's pretty hard to see her being completely unbalanced. From the front pose, you're not seeing much balance issues. It's pretty much spot on. From the back, she has wide hips, so she's always going to look a little bit powerful on the glutes, but this is the best that she is. And honestly, I don't think she needs to be much better than this in terms of her balance to win the Olympia. I think this package in terms of balance is what she needs to bring to the Olympia. I think this is the best that she's done with that. Everything's there. Now, what isn't there is the pop. Okay, and that's where that 1 point came in, and that's where she left a little room for Amy to catch up. Is the pop isn't there? But as I said earlier, I didn't think the pop was going to be there. I thought it was going to be much worse. Honestly, I thought bringing someone down and getting them ready for a show like the Arnold UK, that roundness, that fullness, that density, that pop that you see is just not going to be there, and that's going to be the issue going into the Arnold, right? I thought the size is going to be an issue. But so what I'm seeing here is I'm seeing her at her 100% her best balance that she's been, but I'm seeing her at about 75, 80% the best pop and roundness and fullness that she has. Now, She combines both of those with this level of conditioning, and it's lights out at the Olympia. So I'm curious if she's going to be able to do that. Now it's going to come down to nailing it at that show. Now it's going to happen eventually, guys. We just don't know when. This package should put everyone on high alert. Anyone doing the Olympia should be on high alert, because this balance, this package is damn good. Needs the pop though. This isn't enough to win the Olympia like this. That pop and that density needs to be there. So what does she need to do? She needs to hit those weights again, right? But she needs to hit those weights again without adding a ton of muscle like she did last year. That is going to be tricky. Before, I would have said that's really hard to do, right? I said that after the Olympia. I was wrong. Apparently, it's not that hard for her to make these major corrections in short periods of time. Given the time frame from now to the Olympia, everyone should be on high alert. It is a good prediction for her to be going into the Olympia looking like this after the Arnold. But again, she's a 3-time Arnold Classic champion. That would have been a good prediction the last 2 years on top of that. So can she do it? We shall see, right? So that is what I got for you guys. Hopefully you like this new quick run setup where I do it live. Leave it in the comments if you do like or don't like. Thank you guys. And as always, TeamElitePhysique.com, worldwide online contest prep with me. And I'll talk to you guys later.